like part of my heart has been taken away. Part of me is missing, and I feel worried, sick, that she may have suffered. I don't know if she was tortured. I don't know what happened. I feel so guilty.
Christopher Spencer is a convicted murderer from a DeKalb double homicide. According to Atlanta authorities, he's also the link to an Atlanta murder mystery, the killing of 19-year-old model Bridget Shiel. Shiel, back in May of 2016, was last seen alive at a convenience store. She was in her car with two men.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
I just need to place a restraining order on somebody.
Were you assaulted in any way?
Yes.
And who is this person to you?
He was my boyfriend.
Okay, hold on.
I don't want you guys to go to his house because he said if I call him, he's going to kill me.
Just weeks after making that call, 19-year-old Bridget Sheil was found dead in an Atlanta park. Her naked body lay in the grass at dawn. Dogs circled around her. 7 bullets had torn through her flesh. She'd been running for her life when someone shot her in the back. Then, as she lay dying on the ground, they stood over her and kept firing. The bullets weren't ordinary. They were designed to rip apart everything inside the body. Someone wanted to send a message. Surveillance cameras caught Bridget hours before her death, sitting in her own car with 2 mystery men. She looked terrified. One of those men would later be linked to 5 murders. Her boyfriend told police he would have married her. But here's the thing. Investigators called him their #1 suspect. What really happened to Bridget Sheil, and why did it take 2 years to catch her killer? Welcome to Crazy Dark Files, where we uncover the darkest true crime stories that will keep you up at night. Before we dive deep into this twisted case, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to this channel if you're ready to go down this rabbit hole with me. We're about to explore one of Atlanta's most disturbing mysteries, and trust me, you won't believe where this story goes. Also, drop a comment right now and tell me what state or country you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories reach across the world your way. All right, let's get into it. To understand how Bridget Sheil ended up shot 7 times and left naked in a park, we need to go back to where it all started. Before Bridget Sheil became a murder victim, she was just a girl trying to find her place in the world. She grew up in Washington, D.C., raised mostly by her grandparents, Jim and Beverly Toole. Her family had a military background, which meant structure and discipline. As a kid, Bridget seemed like any other normal girl. She danced ballet with grace and even played soccer, holding her own against the boys on the field. But beneath that normal surface, Bridget was struggling. She had a father she never knew, her mother was rarely around, and as she got older, the pain of that abandonment grew heavier. Kids at school teased her mercilessly about her size. Her self-esteem crumbled. The confident little girl who danced and played sports started to fade away. Her first year of high school, Bridget made honor roll. She was smart and capable, but then something changed. She started skipping school. She hung out with the wrong people. Her grandmother watched helplessly as Bridget made dangerous choices that put her life at risk. When Bridget decided she wanted to move to Atlanta to live with her mom, her grandmother agreed. Maybe a fresh start would help. Maybe Atlanta would give Bridget the chance to turn things around. And for a while, it seemed like it worked. In Atlanta, Bridget transformed herself. She signed with a modeling agency and started booking real work. Atlanta was becoming the new Hollywood of the South, with recording studios on every corner. Bridget saw an opportunity and grabbed it. Her big break came when she was cast as an Amber Rose look-alike in a music video for artist Chris Waddle's song By Gay or Open Fire. She was excited. This was the spotlight she'd always dreamed of. This was her chance to be somebody. But there was a dark side to Bridget's new life that most people didn't know about. A simple internet search pulled up several ads on Backpage, a website commonly used for escort services. The ads featured photos of Bridget in revealing clothing. She called herself Nastia and Spice. The ads promised to make every encounter special and to please in the most desirable ways. Bridget was living 2 lives. By day, she was a legitimate model with an agency. By night, she was selling herself online. Her grandmother didn't believe Bridget was doing this on her own. "I thought that her boyfriend must have gotten her to do that," she said later. "I wouldn't be surprised at all if he hadn't talked her into it." The truth is, Bridget wanted out. She talked about leaving Atlanta and going back to Washington, D.C. She wanted to escape the chaos and danger that surrounded her. She was tired of the life she was living, but before she could escape, someone made sure she never would. To understand what happened to Bridget, you need to understand Kevin Kinney. Kevin was older than Bridget. He'd spent time in and out of jail, though he claimed his offenses were non-violent. People in the community whispered that he had connections to gangs, specifically the Gangster Disciples. But the strangest thing about Kevin wasn't his criminal past. It was his living situation. When Bridget moved in with Kevin, she wasn't the only woman in the house. Kevin also lived with Brittany Olaka, the mother of his child. That's right, Bridget, Kevin, and Kevin's baby mama all lived under the same roof. Investigators would later describe it as a Jerry Springer-type love triangle. You can imagine how well that went. The tension in that house must have been unbearable. 2 women, 1 man, and a child caught in the middle. Friends said there was constant friction. It was only a matter of time before things exploded. On February 13, 2016, Bridget called 911. "Were you assaulted in any way?" the operator asked. "Yes," Bridget replied. "And who's this person to you?" "That's my boyfriend." Bridget told police that Kevin had hit her in the face, but when officers arrived, she refused to press charges. She even told them she didn't want them going to Kevin's house. Just 2 days later, on February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day, police were called back to the same house. But this time, it wasn't Kevin they were arresting. It was Bridget and Brittany. The 2 women had gotten into a physical fight over Kevin. Both were arrested and spent the night in jail. The love triangle had officially turned violent. But things were about to get even more complicated. A friend of Bridget's later told reporters that Bridget had confided in her about something huge. "She told me she was pregnant," the friend said, "and I was not happy to hear that." According to the friend, Bridget was terrified. She didn't even want to tell Kevin about the pregnancy. She was afraid of how he'd react. Kevin, meanwhile, was dealing with the situation through text messages. He later admitted that he told Bridget he didn't believe she was pregnant. "I had to play it off," he said, "because I was trying to be a family man, and I didn't want to lose my son." The living arrangement couldn't last. After just a few weeks of all 3 of them under one roof, Kevin made a decision. He kicked Bridget out. With nowhere to go, Bridget reached out to friends for help. One friend sent her money so she could stay in a motel instead of going back to Kevin. Bridget was trying to distance herself from him, trying to find a way out. But was Kevin willing to let her go? That's the question that haunted investigators later. Was Kevin controlling Bridget? Did he force her into the escort business? Was he profiting from her back-page ads? And when Bridget tried to leave, did Kevin see her as a threat? Police certainly thought so. After Bridget's murder, Kevin was brought in for questioning. He later admitted that detectives told him he was their #1 suspect. He said, "Everybody thought I did it." Kevin claimed he was eventually cleared, but police never publicly confirmed that. In fact, when reporters asked investigators if Kevin had been ruled out as a suspect, they said they hadn't heard anything about him being cleared. Kevin's story was full of holes and contradictions. He claimed he didn't know about the 911 call where Bridget said he hit her, even though they were living together at the time. He denied gang connections, then accidentally admitted to them. He said he would have married Bridget, even though he'd kicked her out, and told her he didn't believe her pregnancy. So what's the truth? Was Kevin involved in Bridget's murder? Or was something even darker waiting for her in the streets of Atlanta? Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Kevin was involved, or was Bridget caught up in something even darker? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're just getting to the most disturbing part of this case, because what happened on the night of May 30th was so devastating. May 30th, 2016 started like any normal day for Bridget Shiel. She had no idea it would be her last. That morning, she sent a text message to her grandmother, Beverly. It simply said, "Darling, I love you." Beverly cherished that message. But what haunts her to this day is what happened next. Bridget tried to call her later that day, but somehow Beverly's phone had turned off. She missed the call. She never got to hear her granddaughter's voice one last time. By evening, Bridget seemed to be in good spirits. She was active on Snapchat, posting videos of herself dancing and having fun. In the pictures, she looked happy and carefree. There was no sign that anything was wrong. Around 10:30 p.m., Bridget posted another Snapchat. This one was taken not far from Oakland Park. The caption read, "Too pretty to walk in the grass." Those words would become chilling just hours later. Shortly after posting that Snapchat, Bridget called a friend. They talked briefly. The friend said Bridget seemed completely fine. Nothing in her voice suggested she was in danger or afraid. Everything seemed normal. But then everything changed. Neighbors near Oakland Park later told police they saw people escorting a woman through that area of the park. They didn't think much of it at the time. But that woman was likely Bridget. At 11:30 p.m., surveillance cameras captured something disturbing at a Shell gas station in Stone Mountain, about 20 miles away from Oakland Park. Bridget's white Ford Fusion pulled into the parking lot. But Bridget wasn't driving. She was sitting in the front passenger seat, and there were two black men in the car with her. One was behind the wheel, the other was in the back. A witness at the gas station noticed Bridget immediately. She looked extremely nervous. Her body language screamed discomfort. But she didn't scream for help. She didn't try to run.
She was in her car with two men.
We also have a witness from that location who told us that Bridget looked extremely nervous in the car.
The witness said it seemed like Bridget knew at least one of the men in the car. What happened next showed just how calculated these men were. Instead of getting out of the car themselves, they had someone else, a person who was just hanging around the gas station, go inside and buy items for them. That way, the two men were never captured. Clearly on the store's security cameras, they stayed hidden in the car. This wasn't random, this was planned. After leaving the gas station, Bridget's car began a 20-mile journey back toward Oakland Park. At 1:30 a.m. on May 31st, a man called 911. He reported hearing multiple gunshots coming from Oakland Park. What happened in those final moments was brutal. Investigators believe Bridget tried to run. She was shot in the back as she fled for her life. The bullets tore through her body, but she kept trying to escape. Then she fell, and that's when it got worse. As Bridget lay on the ground, dying or already dead, someone stood over her and kept firing. The autopsy showed that some of the shots came from a straight-down angle. Whoever killed her wanted to make absolutely sure she was dead. In total, 7 bullets ripped through Bridget's body, but these weren't ordinary bullets. They were called RIP bullets, radically invasive projectiles. These bullets are designed to fragment on impact, tearing apart everything inside the body. They cause maximum damage. They're the kind of bullets you use when you want to send a message. Detectives later said, somebody hated her. Somebody was definitely sending a message. But what was that message, and who was it meant for? The average person on the street wouldn't use RIP bullets in a crime. These were specialty rounds. Whoever killed Bridget either had access to serious firepower or wanted to make a statement. And the way she was found, completely naked, stripped of everything, suggested something even darker. Was it meant to humiliate her, to destroy evidence? Or was it connected to her life as an escort? As the sun began to rise over Atlanta on May 33rd, Bridget Shiel lay dead in Oakland Park, and the two men who killed her had vanished into the night. At 6:50 a.m., a man was walking through Oakland Park when he noticed something strange. Dogs were circling something on the grass. Stray dogs were common in the area, but the way they were behaving caught his attention. They weren't barking or playing, they were just circling, sniffing, waiting. The man walked closer and shooed the dogs away. That's when he saw her. Bridget Shiel's naked body lay motionless on the grass. Her skin was pale in the early morning light. 7 bullet wounds marked her body. Blood had pooled beneath her. There were no clothes, no purse, no phone, no identification, nothing that could tell police who she was or what had happened to her. The man immediately called 911. Within minutes, Atlanta homicide detectives swarmed the park. They cordoned off the area and began searching for evidence. But there wasn't much to find. Whoever killed Bridget had been careful. The only way police could identify her was through her tattoos. One of them read, "Despite all odds, I'm still here." The irony of those words was heartbreaking. Bridget had survived so much in her short life. Abandonment, abuse, low self-esteem, dangerous relationships. She'd fought to make something of herself, and now, at just 19 years old, she was gone. Detectives canvassed the area, looking for witnesses and clues. They found shell casings from the RIP bullets. They took photos of the scene, but they had no suspects, no motive, and no clear leads. The next day, police got a break. Bridget's white Ford Fusion was found abandoned near a cell phone tower in Stone Mountain. It was hidden behind the tower, almost like someone had tried to conceal it. The location was about 2 miles from the Shell gas station where Bridget had been seen with the 2 men, and it was 20 miles from Oakland Park, where her body was found. Near the car, investigators discovered 2 important pieces of evidence: a dress and a Sprite bottle. At the time, police didn't realize just how crucial that Sprite bottle would become. It seemed like a random piece of trash. But that bottle would eventually lead them to Bridget's killer. For now, though, the case was a mystery. A young woman shot 7 times with specialty bullets, left naked in a park. 2 unidentified men last seen with her, and a family desperate for answers. The hunt for Bridget Shiel's killer had just begun. When police started investigating Bridget's murder, one name kept coming up: Kevin Kinney. Kevin was brought in for questioning almost immediately, and according to Kevin himself, detectives made it very clear where he stood. "They said I was the #1 suspect," Kevin later revealed. "Everybody thought I did it." His explanation for why police focused on him seemed simple enough. "Me being the most recent person that she was with," he said. But there was a lot more to it than that. Police knew about the 911 call where Bridget said Kevin had hit her. They knew about the volatile relationship between Kevin, Bridget, and Brittany. They knew about the fight that landed both women in jail, and they'd heard the rumors that Kevin had connections to gangs, specifically the Gangster Disciples. Friends and people in the community said he might be part of an underground organization. All of this made Kevin look very suspicious. For 2 years, Kevin stayed quiet. He didn't speak publicly about the case or about Bridget. But then, Crime Watch Daily reached out to him for an exclusive interview, and surprisingly, he agreed. What he said in that interview only raised more questions. Kevin claimed he had no idea about the 911 call where Bridget accused him of hitting her. "I've never heard no call," he said. "I've never heard any of this." But how could he not know? They were living together at the time. When the interviewer pressed him on this, Kevin seemed genuinely confused, or at least he acted that way. Then there were his contradictions about gang involvement. At first, Kevin flat out denied any gang connections. "I don't even know anything about gangs at all," he said, but just minutes later he slipped up. "I haven't even answered anybody else in the gang in a while," he said. "I don't even affiliate myself with people like that." Wait. So he doesn't know anything about gangs, but he also hasn't talked to anyone in the gang lately? Which one is it? Kevin also made some shocking claims about his feelings for Bridget. "That was the woman that I probably would have been married to," he said. "That girl would have a ring on everything right now." This is the same man who kicked Bridget out of his house. The same man who told her through text that he didn't believe she was pregnant because he was trying to be a family man. When asked if Bridget was afraid of him, Kevin said no. He claimed she had no reason to be scared. Instead, he offered his own theory about what happened. "Turning a guy down, probably," Kevin said. "She has a mouth on her. She can be really intimidating." So his theory was that Bridget rejected some guy's advances and that's why she was killed? The interviewer asked Kevin directly, "Did you have anything to do with the murder of Bridget Sheil?" "No, not at all," Kevin replied. But then something strange happened. After the interview ended, Kevin was still wearing his microphone. As he walked away, the audio guy heard him mutter something under his breath. When confronted about it, Kevin got defensive. "I'm not even taking you seriously right now," he snapped. Kevin insisted to producers that he'd been cleared by police. But when reporters checked with investigators, they said they'd never publicly cleared Kevin as a suspect. To this day, Kevin Kinney has never been charged with Bridget's murder. Months passed after Bridget's murder, and there were no arrests. Police released surveillance images from the Shell gas station showing Bridget's car with the two unidentified men inside. They hoped someone would recognize them and come forward. A $10,000 reward was offered for any information leading to an arrest, but no one came forward. The two men remained unidentified. The case was going nowhere. On May 31, 2017, exactly 1 year after Bridget's body was found, her family held a vigil. They pleaded with the public for help. Someone out there had to know something. Someone had to have seen something. Bridget's grandmother, Beverly Toole, spoke through tears. "We still love her so much," she said. "And so long as we're alive, we'll always remember." But still, no new leads came in. The case went cold. Detectives continued working behind the scenes, but without solid evidence or witnesses, there wasn't much they could do. The two men from the gas station had vanished. The Sprite bottle and dress found near Bridget's car hadn't led anywhere yet. And Kevin Kinney, despite being the prime suspect in many people's eyes, had never been charged. Bridget's family was losing hope. It seemed like whoever killed her was going to get away with it. Her grandmother kept Bridget's memory alive, talking about her whenever she could. She refused to let people forget what happened. But deep down, she wondered if justice would ever come. 2 years passed. 2 long, painful years of waiting and wondering. And then, something happened that changed everything. Investigators found something they'd overlooked, something that had been sitting in evidence the whole time. Something that would finally lead them to Bridget's killer. But the truth, when it came out, was more terrifying than anyone expected. At this point, it seemed like Bridget's killer would never be caught. But then, investigators found something they'd overlooked. Before I reveal what cracked this case wide open, let me ask you, have you ever heard of a case in your city that went cold for years? Share your stories in the comments, and if you're finding this case as gripping as I am, smash that like button, because what happened next would lead police to a killer far more dangerous than anyone imagined. Remember that Sprite bottle found near Bridget's abandoned car? The one that seemed like just another piece of trash at the crime scene? That bottle was about to solve the case. 5 months after Bridget's murder, on October 24, 2016, something horrific happened in Stone Mountain. 2 men abducted a couple named Sylvia Watson and Samuel White. They bound them with rope, robbed them, and then shot them both to death, execution style. It was brutal and cold-blooded. Police quickly identified the killers, Christopher Spencer, who went by the nickname Crisco, and his accomplice, Vernon Beeman. Both men were arrested, convicted, and sentenced to life in prison. Christopher Spencer's DNA was entered into the state database, as is standard procedure for convicted felons. And that's when everything changed. Investigators ran Spencer's DNA through the system, checking it against unsolved cases. And they got a hit. Spencer's DNA matched DNA found on the Sprite bottle near Bridget's car. But it didn't stop there. His DNA also matched DNA found on Bridget's body. After 2 years of dead ends and frustration, police finally had their killer. The problem? Spencer was already in prison serving a life sentence. He wasn't going anywhere. But at least now, Bridget's family would have answers. At least now, they'd know who took her life. As investigators dug deeper into Christopher Spencer's background, they realized just how dangerous he was. Spencer wasn't just connected to Bridget's murder and the Stone Mountain double homicide. He was linked to 5 total killings. In addition to Bridget Shiel, Sylvia Watson, and Samuel White, Spencer was also facing charges for a shooting in Clayton County that killed an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old. Authorities believed it was a gang attack, and the children may have been killed by mistake. Christopher Spencer was a serial killer, and Bridget Sheil was one of his victims. On May 31, 2018, exactly 2 years to the day after Bridget's body was found in Oakland Park, Atlanta police held a press conference. They announced that Christopher Spencer, now 28 years old, had been charged with the murder of Bridget Shiel. Bridget's mother, Angela Shiel, attended the press conference. She said she was overwhelmed with feelings, but even with someone finally charged, she didn't feel true closure. Her grandmother, Beverly Toole, felt the same way. So far, it hasn't helped, she said. Maybe if we find out how he got her, it could help, but we just don't know. Because while police now knew who killed Bridget, they still didn't know why. Major Michael O'Connor from the Atlanta Police Department addressed the media. When asked if Bridget and Spencer knew each other, he said, "I don't believe so, but I don't know that definitely either." Spencer himself told police he'd never seen Bridget before. He denied any role in her murder. But the DNA didn't lie. Christopher Spencer's DNA was on that Sprite bottle. It was on Bridget's body. And now he would be held accountable. After 2 years of waiting, Bridget's family finally had a name. They finally had someone to blame. But the questions weren't over. Not by a long shot. So who is Christopher Spencer? He was a man with deep gang connections, involved in what authorities described as a killing spree across the Atlanta area. His crimes weren't crimes of passion or accidents. They were calculated, brutal, and cold. Spencer's method of operation was consistent: abduction, robbery, and execution-style killings. He targeted people, took what he wanted, and then eliminated them. No mercy, no hesitation. The Stone Mountain couple, Sylvia Watson and Samuel White, were bound before being shot to death. The 2 children in Clayton County were gunned down in what police believe was a gang hit. And Bridget Shiel was shot 7 times with specialty RIP bullets designed to cause maximum damage. This wasn't someone who killed in the heat of the moment. This was someone who killed deliberately and repeatedly. When police questioned Spencer about Bridget's murder, he denied everything. "I've never seen her," he said. "I didn't do it." But investigators weren't convinced. Major Michael O'Connor admitted, "I don't believe they knew each other, but I don't know that definitely." And that's where the case gets even more disturbing. How did Bridget end up in that car with Christopher Spencer? Did she know him? Did someone introduce them? Or was she in the wrong place at the wrong time? And who was the second man in the car at the gas station? Surveillance showed 2 men with Bridget that night. Spencer was one of them. But the other man has never been identified. Was it Vernon Beeman, Spencer's accomplice in the Stone Mountain murders? Or was it someone else entirely? What was the motive? Was this a random act of violence? A robbery gone wrong? Or was Bridget targeted for a specific reason? Some investigators believe the rip bullets are a clue. Those bullets aren't something you use for a simple robbery. They're expensive and specialty made. They're the kind of bullets you use when you want to send a message. Was Spencer sending a message? And if so, to who? Was it gang? Was Bridget connected to someone Spencer wanted to hurt? Or was she simply unlucky enough to cross paths with a serial killer? The truth is, we may never know. What we do know is that Christopher Spencer is a monster. He's responsible for at least 5 deaths, including that of a 19-year-old girl who was just trying to escape the chaos of her life. And now, he'll spend the rest of his life behind bars. Bridget Shiel's story is a tragedy in every sense of the word. She was a young woman trying to escape a dangerous life. She wanted to leave Atlanta and go back to Washington, D.C. She wanted a fresh start. She wanted to be more than the circumstances she was born into, but she never got that chance. Bridget lived a double life. She was a model with dreams of stardom, but she was also an escort trying to survive. She was a dreamer, but she was also a survivor, navigating a world that was stacked against her. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think really happened to Bridget Shiel? Was this a random act of violence? Was it connected to her escort work? Was it gang retaliation? Or was Kevin Kinney involved somehow? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe to Crazy Dark Files, and turn on notifications so you never miss a case like this. And remember, Bridget's family is still searching for answers. If you have any information about this case, please contact Atlanta Police or Crime Stoppers. Someone out there knows what happened that night, and Bridget's family deserves the truth.